David, it's an
Yes.
extreme pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you. I love your shirt, by the way. I think that that was very, very, very smart. I love the branding.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I won't hide the fact I'm a big fan of your work. And I never realized actually you had Persian blood in you, and you're also a big nerd like me. So we already have a lot in common, actually, already. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, my dad's from Iran, and I grew up with my nose buried in comic books and watching science fiction and horror movies. So yeah, I feel like we must have a lot in common.
We must be related somehow. Absolutely love it. I also wanted to give you major props for Late Night with the Devil. You're Jack Delroy, a national treasure, I must say. And I was sold when I was at your panel at San Diego Comic Con last year. And that was just a great experience. My first time at San Diego Comic Con, and that was one of the major highlights for me, seeing you come out as Jack Delroy. And after watching the movie, I need more of him in any capacity.
Thank you, Sean. I am so proud of that film, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it. It was just a massively joyful experience for me working on it, and the response it got was so overwhelming and humbling. And I'm really proud too that it was the first feature film co-production of my company, Good Fiend Films, where we're making comic books, making movies, making TV shows, all focused through the lens of genre storytelling, but hopefully with complicated and complex ideas and characters.
Yeah, I'm super excited with that next venture of yours. And I spoke to your directors of those films, and they're a blast to talk to and high praise of you and your performance. But your latest film is Afraid, where AI is the center of the story. And I love films about AI and the dangers of it. Everyone always has their great take on it. So I wanted to ask, are you more of a tech savvy guy who embraces smart devices, or do you keep them at a distance?
I don't keep them at a distance, but I'm certainly not a tech savvy guy. I love the way technology can help and benefit our lives. I mean, as a creative person, the opportunity when I'm writing, say, a screenplay or a comic book script that I can utilize, the computer to help just very functionally and simply put together mood boards and Pinterest boards and visual, references for things, the way I can hyperlink video to stuff is great, but I'll be damned if I can't sometimes figure out how to send a text message properly or still download a file. It's embarrassing. The older I get, the worse I get at it. And as we know, with like the singularity being near and the way that technology is evolving so rapidly, I'm just going to get worse as it gets more sophisticated.
Do you remember like the first piece of technology or anything that was like technology based that you just like fell in love with? Like, I think for me, the earliest, it's a video game, but technology, but my Game Boy, my first Game Boy, was really what something my first technology in my hands pretty much.
I think mine was the pager. I remember thinking like, wow, what a cool idea. You can like shoot someone a message to make sure they go to a rotary telephone somewhere near and call you on it. Like, dang, the world is never going to get any more connected than this.
Speaking of pagers, whenever you do come to our Persian household, my dad will pull out his OG pager for you that he still has to show it off because that's what all Persian dads do apparently is show off their old technology. He still has his original video camera and everything else. And he kept that pager because it was his way of testing the AA batteries that still worked. If it turned on and beeped, it was the battery that was still alive. So, yeah.
I love it. That's ingenious. That is brilliant. Proud Persian dad.
Yeah, it is. I also wanted to ask, what aspect of this film, Afraid, and your role were you most drawn to? I know, your eye is very different than most actors, and so I'm always interested to see, like, how this project really caught your eye.
What drew me first and foremost to the project was Chris Weitz. I think he is an incredible storyteller and he's an amazing human being. Chris and I met for coffee at my favorite coffee shop in Los Angeles, where if you ever want to find me, that's usually where I'm at, a place called Horror Vibes Cafe in North Hollywood. So Chris and I met there and started talking about cinema and films and art, and I just fell in love with the guy. And then he started talking about this movie and what he was trying to do with it and the character Lightning that I was being given an opportunity to play. And and looking at a character that on the surface, seems like maybe somebody we've seen brought to life in films before, I thought might be really interesting if we lean into a new take on tech guru genius. And Chris thankfully gave me a lot of latitude to explore what that could look like. I felt like he was a little more new age than just buttoned up Silicon Valley.
Yeah, every role that you play, you bring a little bit of yourself in it. I love seeing it, and you really offer some characters that we have never seen before. There's a certain special quality to them, something unique. But what is like one thing you love and hate about AI, especially today?
The thing I love about AI would be, I guess, that it is proof that we are still standing uh, um, on the edge of a vast universe of technological advancement that we can't even wrap our heads around. What I fear about AI is that, as I'm sure almost all of us fear, there is a potential to override or eliminate the human component of processes, be those labor processes, creative processes. There is there is something um, functionally and powerfully fallible about the human um, element when it comes to all processes. And that means we not only make mistakes, but we learn from mistakes. And I am wary of how much control we may be willing to cede over to non-human entities in an effort to eliminate mistakes. I think mistakes are the building block of evolution. They are the mistakes are the foundation of art and creativity.
Yeah, I'm a tech savvy guy. I like technology, but a lot of aspects I don't even like using technology, especially actually in vehicles. I don't like, even cruise control, to be honest. I rather, I don't, even though that's not really like high technology these days. Like I don't like using cruise control. I really don't like any of the lane assists and a lot of vehicles and stuff like that. That's probably why my cars are probably a little bit older, so they don't have that. So it's a real love hate thing with technology. I feel like, and a film like this also shows, some cool advancements about it. Maybe some dangers and a possibility in the future, but it's always fun to see them play out in film. Do you have a favorite classic film about AI?
One of my favorite films of all time is 2001: A Space Odyssey by Stanley Kubrick. That is a movie that just so deliciously, perfectly explores the horror of giving too much control over to computers. So, I mean, that's it. That is the golden lion of all. It is such a masterpiece. That movie's so incredible.
That is true. That's Hal right there, and set the stage for a lot of great films. I mean, I love like Tron. I even love War Games, Blade Runner a little bit. If you can talk about that, and Terminator. And do you remember Deadly Friend? It was
Deadly
yeah.
Friend. It's been a long time since I thought about Deadly Friend. War Games as well. Those are some classics you're pulling out there for sure. Don't forget Chopping Mall, by the way.
Yeah, and the funny thing, Deadly Friend was a movie I had in my head, and I could never figure out what it was called. And I would go on Google and be like, put the description of what movie is this? Like, because I have like, I probably watched it
Trying
on
to
TV in the
remember,
90s.
like I know this movie. I just can't remember what it was. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Happens to me all the time. And it's no secret that you love the horror genre. I mean, you're pretty much the king of horror, and I follow all your stuff. I know that's like your favorite genre. You love Halloween. I love following your horror journey. It's really fun and really unique. Do you remember the
Thank you.
first horror film you've ever watched and how it made you feel?
First horror film I ever watched was The Curse of the Werewolf, the Hammer classic, starring Oliver Reed, and it was on the late night Friday night Nightmare Theater in Kansas City, where I grew up, hosted by Cremation Mortem, and it just got me hooked. I've been hooked since I was a little boy. I've always loved monsters. I've always loved werewolves. I've always loved mythology around Frankenstein and Dracula and the Invisible Man and the Mummy, and it's kind of an incredible miracle, and it's just not lost on me what a dream it is that I get to spend so much of my time playing with monsters.
No, I love that. I think mine was Halloween 2. I watched on TV. I was born in '89, so I'm showing my age a little bit, what I could watch. But, once I watched that one on TV, I remember still having a nightmare about that the next night. And I still remember that nightmare very vividly. So,
Yeah, I believe it was Curse of the Werewolf that inspired some pretty intense nightmares for me as well. And I still remember those very first nightmares. I really remember like how intensely they affected me. So I get it. Trust me.
love it. But David, this was an extreme pleasure. Like I said, definitely one for my bucket list personally. And I'm still waiting to see what we do at Count Crowley into a live action series or even an animated series. So I'm looking forward to that.
That is one of my biggest dreams. So please keep your eyes peeled. Knights versus Samurai from Image Comics drops September 25th in just a few weeks, and then we have Creature Commandos from DC Comics in December. So thank you. Make sure and go see Afraid in theaters. It is a really cool movie. I literally just watched it, and I'm so excited for people to see what Chris did. It's really cool. Very, very fun movie.